Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Season 1, Episode 5 of Ishura. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with learning a little bit more about Higuare. Obviously, we got introduced to Higuare, was at Episode 2. Obviously, him and the skeleton dude. It shares his name in this episode too, but I'm blanking on it. It's something like Shulk, right? Because it kind of almost reminds me of Shulk from Xenoblade Chronicles. What I also thought was kind of interesting, because Taryn was talking with Luna about, I guess her job was also not only to bring them, but also to try and track down the world word, which we learned about last episode. It's interesting too because it's unclear, like all of this is happening probably relatively roughly around the same time, but like the story isn't fully taking place in the same sequences, because jumping ahead a little bit, but during like Kuze's side of the episode, they reference home dude from episode 2 who was going off after Vikion. They were kind of referencing that. Granted, that was the last time they were in that area, so that could have been like weeks or months ago. So but it's just interesting callbacks and tie-ins and stuff like that. But once again, I mean, it's all one narrative story. We're just following these like slice of life stories of like you're getting like a slice into their life, but it's all connected to the greater overarching plot. But either way, getting back to it. I just thought it was so interesting because what was her name? Luna was kind of like, oh, like there's no way something like that really exists. But Taryn's like, if they did, we would have to make sure we'd have some way of controlling this person. Which is like, yeah, Lithia was going after her. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's just the same reason why Horatia lucked out on having her, because she is someone that is, once again, that power is most powerful powered person you'd find. So. But I guess word hasn't gotten back about her. To be fair, I'm sure they're keeping that a tight-lipped secret. Also depends on whether or not what's her face came back with Kia or not. Like they might not have made their journey back to Horatia yet. And once again, like how much information is going to be out there about that, because they're probably going to keep that super super tight-lipped about their potential ultimate weapon. So. But getting back to Higuare, we learned that obviously he's a mandrake that was found, and he was basically forced into slavery, which obviously didn't make sense to the others. It's like, whoa, you're supposed to be so invincible. How were you a slave for like 13, 14 years? It's because it is a being that kind of goes with the flow of things. Not necessarily like when people tell it to do something, it does it. It's like it kind of is in that weird situation where it kind of has its own will, but it also is like, right, you want me to do something? I'll do it. The episode kind of ends with it's like using the terminology free slave, because it's like it's bound to, and it obeys any order it's given, but it's bound to no one but itself in a lot of regards. So it's like, I'll do it because you asked me to do it, but I'm also like, there's some weird freedom in that. I don't know, it's a little bit of an oxymoron. I think it's meant to be this contradictional existence that Higuare kind of has. But either way, was just kind of a slave and was thrown into basically gladiator fights, and it fought and it killed, and every time it killed someone, which as you notice, every time it stabbed anyone, they would kind of start decaying a little bit. So it seems like, I guess because of where it hides its poison, its blades are all tipped in this poison, I would assume, because the blades are actually hidden with all throughout Higuare's body. And anyone he stabs or slashes is dead, because apparently no living being can survive this poison. So, but he basically ran through any opponent, and he kind of learns about some of the more higher concepts of like life and death. And it's like, right, I'm not really attached to life, but Higuare is like, at the end of the day, I'm scared to die. The thought of death scares me, and it fights tooth and nail to survive. So it learned in that gladiator style of things, it's kill or be killed, and that's kind of the way it kind of goes about living its life. And it also crossed paths with the True Demon King's army, which we got introduced to this episode. So I was like, those look like they were zombies, but it looked like zombieism, but I'm curious what that actually is. Is it like a curse? Did you resurrect the dead to do your bidding? Like, did you turn living human beings into that, or did you resurrect the dead to make them that? Like, what the true Demon Kings, like, I don't know if that's like, I mean, that was interesting. We saw one facet of the army. I don't know if that's the entire army. Did the true Demon King have any like lieutenant, or was it just his quote unquote potentially undead army? I don't know, but Higuare like sliced through them and was kind of enjoying it. And there's like, even though like Higuare's had this very like almost robotic like demeanor, in this moment you heard it laughing because it was kind of enjoying the battle, because like I said, this is all it's known for kind of its entire life, and it was ruled by that nature of kill or be killed. And once again, it's like there's this complicated freedom with just doing what other people order you to do, but not being bound to anyone necessarily. It's just kind of like, yeah, I kind of go with the flow of things. Someone wants me to kill someone or something, sure. That almost makes me wonder, like, he probably would work Horatio. Like, he has no loyalties. The only reason why he's not working for Horatio is because Alithia got to him first. Kind of just like the Kia situation. Horatio just happened to get to her first. So I think that's interesting. And there was even, like I said, Shulk, the whatever, Shulk, like I said, it's something like that. I didn't even think about that when his name was said before, because I think it's like Shulk, but it kind of makes me think, like I said, of Shulk from Xenoblade Chronicle. But he is more of a mercenary, so it's like, right, I'm gonna need payment first, which I love Takai being like, oh, so that's your game, you basically get paid up front and then you run. He's like, what, you thought you figured me out? You thought because I'm dead that I do stuff for free? It's like, but Takai was almost like, oh man, I really like you, you know what you want and you go for it. So they've got some it also seems like he's specifically after information that Luna's like, oh, I can help you out. What you're looking for is information on the exact location where the true Demon King died, which I'm like, what are you going to get out of that? What are you looking for? Because once again, we're seeing at the beginning opening credits talk about no one knows who or what actually, the name or the existence of the person or thing that actually killed the true Demon King. So what is he planning to find there? Some evidence of who that was? Maybe it has something to do with, maybe he doesn't remember much about his own life, and maybe he's trying to remember if he's actually the one who killed the true Demon King, and maybe being there could give him some answers, or maybe he's specifically looking for the person who killed the true Demon King for some reason, or like maybe being undead, he can gain something from the true Demon King's, like specifically where the true Demon King died. I don't know if that's where the true Demon King's body is, or maybe it disappeared after death. There's so much we don't know in that capacity, so. But that's kind of where things kind of lie on that side of things. On the other side of the episode, we spend more time with Kuzu. He was introduced at the end of one of the previous episodes, like kind of in a post-credits. Because I was under the impression like he was supposed to break Nihilio out, but I guess not. At least maybe that's what the ending made it seem like he was supposed to break her out, but that was kind of like taken care of like the last episode by Hidao. He took care of that, so. Kuze's an interesting person. He seems to be kind of a little bit of a holy man. And I don't know if necessarily like a priest or whatever. Like maybe he's kind of like, if you're familiar with the... Because once again, I've got Trails / the Kaseki series on the mind just because whatever, tangents on. It kind of reminds me of like the Wandering Priest of that world, which obviously you know some of those people have connections to like the Grossritter. Like he seems to be specifically this religious group. There seems to be a core religious group. I don't know if like they're the de facto religion in this universe, like in the Trails, the Septian Church is like the only real religion you really seen is kind of reigned supreme for like the past 500 years. There isn't really too much. Yeah, there's cults and stuff, but nothing like to the scale of the Septian Church of like, there's no real counter religion, whereas in real life there's so many different religions, so on and so forth, right? I'm wondering, is this religion group they're known as like the religious order, or like they the only religion in this universe, or are they just the most popular one? I mean, once again, there's probably cults and stuff like that too, very much like the Trails / Kaseki. My point, I was bringing up that parallel, they have like their own, order of warriors known as like the Grossritter and stuff like that. there's like a larger name for it, but like the Grossritter ends up being like a secret organization in the Trail slash Kaseki universe that works for the church. I'm curious, like, is that what he is? But they don't really make it seem like he has a special title or anything. It's just more, well, they do call him something previous. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, because some of the people they fight later kind of refer to him something very specific. But he's just kind of like the cleanup person. It seems like he's their fixer when the church or the religious order has like an issue. He's the one that kind of settles it, him and his angel, which I thought was interesting. I also think it's fascinating, and it kind of makes a lot of sense as potentially a holy man. His only weapon is a shield. He kind of reminds me, if you play Tales of Arise, he kind of reminds me, his shield in particular reminds me of Kasara, because obviously it's more so like the coloring and aesthetic kind of slightly reminds me of that. It's not the same shape, but still. Her main weapon's a shield. She also has a mace, but like her shield is like the main thing. He doesn't have anything else but that shield, well, and his angel. But he doesn't want to take lives. He'll defend himself, but he doesn't want to actually kill anyone. That's why I'm curious, like, was he always a holy man? Like, was he always a very religious person? Or did certain experiences make him, like... Because that's why I'm like, because he's a cleanup person, but is he, like, officially part of the religious order? Or is he just an outsourced person? I'm curious how that fully works. It seems like he's directly connected to them, but I don't know. Once again, it's just like he's potentially one member of it we're meeting, so we don't know if he's representative of the entire organization. Like I said, if he is in fact part of it, he could be a religious person, but just not be a part of the religious orders. But isn't just him alone. He's also there with Nihilo. He's kind of escorting her, as well as some other people who are secretly Eurasia people. He doesn't seem like he's directly working with Eurasia, but it's still kind of a thing of... I guess he kind of goes where the work goes, but I don't know. Like, I don't think it's the religious order necessarily choosing a side, or even him choosing a side. The fact is, he's with them, and him alone makes me feel like he is kind of outsourced in some capacities. Either way, that causes problem for him later, because it doesn't seem like he's necessarily trying to choose a side in all of this. It just kind of goes where the work goes. They got his... employment first and foremost, Eurasia, but I don't know if he'd be up to working with Lithia, or is it specifically he just has a sole contract with Eurasia. So it's unclear what his history with Eurasia is, how long it goes back. Is it just this job, or do they have an extended history? Obviously, we didn't get to spend a lot of time with Nihilo in this episode either, but definitely a lot more than we did in her previous appearance. Just kind of getting a little bit of her personality, that she likes to tease Kuze, being like, oh no, you can sleep in my room if you want to. He's like, oh, come on, please, don't tease an old man, you know? But the real tragedy of it is, the girl that he is friends with, her name is Repel. He's been to this place before. Like, I guess in just throughout the years, he stopped by here from time to time. The last time he was here was like 4 years ago, but he's glad to see how so little has changed. But it turns out Repel was like, please work with Lithia. After like Horatio was here previously, Lithia came to us and said like they will actually help out the church if we basically help them. So she's like, Kuze, like, help me, like, let's help Lithia, don't work with Horatio. But the Lithia people came and attacked, specifically they came to attack Kuze. But this isn't what Repel wanted. She likes Kuze, she sees him as a great dude, and in her mind, she even says this later on, which I was like, there's no way she's making it out of this alive. But when he defended her at first and like she didn't get hit, I was like, okay, good. But when that guy got hit and the arrow flew up, I was like, she got struck, especially when you see that she was kind of leaned against the wall. I was like, oh, she's dying, isn't she? And it's like, yeah, when the straight arrow pierced her her kidney. But she was just trying to she wanted to be like Kuze. She wanted to help people. And because Kuze was like, right, the way I go about helping people won't help anyone. Because his way of helping is like, I kind of dispose of stuff. My way of handling things isn't adequate to what you think it might be, you know? And it's just sad the situation played out the way it did, especially because like Kuze's like, come on, he was even begging his angels like, please don't kill them, but she did, because her job, for whatever reason it may be, she's protecting him, which we did hear that the maker of this world also had an angel by their side. Now, was it the same angel, different angel? Who knows? How many angels still exist? Is this the only one? So that's what I'm saying, like, is it the same one that helped make this world, or Is it a different angel? Like, how many exist? Are there many? Were there many, but now there's so few? Were there always only a few? I'm sure. I'm curious to dive into that and why this specific angel is attached to Kuze. Why she wants to protect him in particular, and kind of like Higuare, it doesn't have to do much. All it has to do is touch you because it is given the right to take life whenever it wants to. Makes sense because you're an angel. You probably helped bring life into this world. You can take it out easily. That's the authority probably the creator kind of like bestowed, the maker kind of bestowed upon it. But it's unclear if it must talk in some shape or form for Kuze to be able to know its name, because he knows its name is Nastique, so, which immediately makes me think of Mystique the way it's said. But beyond that, I'm so curious. Like I said, I want more about that relationship and stuff like that. And obviously, Kuze kind of blames himself because he's like, right, don't blame yourself for Pel. This is all on me. It's like, if it wasn't for me, that's why you kind of got put in the middle of all this. That's why this whole thing ensued, is because of me. You were kind of caught in between all of this, and I kind of expedited and made the situation worse. It is sad that it's like, because that seems to be like the main war, the main friction we're seeing in this world post the True Demon King's death, is that it's specifically Lithia going to war with Horatia and them both trying to wipe each other out, and the casualties and the people that are manipulated, like a Kia or whatever, who are being drawn into this fight they didn't necessarily ask for, who are just going about their lives, but everyone's getting drawn into this conflict in some shape or form. It's all going to unify with, once again, like this gathering of heroes and champions to fight it out, to see who comes out on top and what the end result of that would be. What will be waiting in the aftermath of that competition of everyone that's being gathered. All these different heroes we're meeting over the course of the show now and going forward. Because it's interesting, the next episode is called Gathering, I think it's called Gathering the Factions. So it's not even specifically like a person. So is that meaning like we're going to be gathering up all the people? So that makes me want, because like I said, I don't remember because I don't always see the episode titles. Like, some of them are already kind of out there already, but some of them aren't. You typically don't, I think they don't really get revealed until like the episodes actually air. I mean, obviously you get them at the end of each episode and kind of like that slight next time on Ishura type of thing, but it's just only like the title card you really get. But I'm so curious what that necessarily entails. Because once again, we've gotten introduced to quite a few characters, and they've all kind of still been separated. But obviously, we've seen some. Hey, like we got introduced to Kai in episode 3, and he's back in this episode. We haven't gotten a solo Terran episode yet. I guess her position kind of speaks for itself. I mean, the same thing for like some of the other officials we've met, like a Hidao. Like we haven't really spent a lot of time with him. We're just kind of meeting all these other people because I guess they're the big players, and maybe the overarching story is going to be their story, whereas like these other characters who play their big roles, we get these slice of life of their lives, so that when they culminate, we understand what they're all bringing into this, and probably at the same time, while the story's progressing, learn more about them along the way. Once again, as someone who's like ignorant to the nature of this story, because once again, I've never read the light novel nor read any of the manga adaptations, like it's going to be interesting to see the continuation of the story. We are at the halfway point because this season's supposed to be 12 episodes. We're episode 6 is next, so we're kind of hitting that halfway point. So is this where the show changes a little bit structurally, or does it stay the same after episode 6? Maybe episode 6 isn't what I think it's going to be. I don't actually want to know. I'm just like theorizing. It's a rhetorical question type of situation. Oh yeah, there was one more quick thing I actually wanted to add before I wrap this up too. I thought was interesting. Kuze had asked Nihilio, like, have you died before, right? And she was like, yes, which I was like, interesting. Maybe because she was probably like a regular human, because she was created, so it's a thing that she probably died and then got made into the super weapon that she is. But, because obviously she was, like, made for battle and stuff like that. But it's like, did you ever meet an angel? Because obviously that's a really interesting conversation about death of, like, what did she see on the other side? Did she see anything? Did she see pure darkness? Was she not there long enough to really know anything? But she never saw an angel, so she wasn't sure they existed. She thought that was something people made up. But it's like, oh, that's who you're talking to and looking to all the time. It's an angel. He's like, yeah, I have one. You know, she protects me whenever someone threatens to kill me. So just thought that was kind of interesting because that her having died before is kind of like an answer to like, well, what's on the other side? Is it just pitch black? I mean, does she even care to give an answer? Has anyone ever bothered asking her? You know, it's interesting too because Kuze, she's actually the first person Kuze, I guess, has felt comfortable enough. I guess because no one's ever really believed him about the angel thing, but she's the only person that knows the angel's name. He's like, I never even told Repel that. So it's like, what does that say about Nihilo that he's willing to tell her the name? Is it just because no one's asked or because no one's really believed him up until this point about the angel existing? Questions like that I find so interesting. So I'm really curious to see where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.